Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It's Thursday. You know what that means. It's Dynamite Review Day. It's a special Dynamite Review Day. It's Dynamite 200 Review Day. The AEW had their 200th episode of Dynamite last night. And joining me as always for AEW reviews is the one, the only, the AEW guru, Mr. Dave Robinson.
How you doing, Ed? You okay?
All good, my man.
What a show. So glad that Dynamite last night was as good as certainly as it reminded me like of an old school episode of Dynamite, like back to what they do best. So I haven't spoken to you yet, so I don't know if you feel the same, but I really enjoyed the show.
We will get into all the nooks and crannies very shortly, but first, and before Dynamite went on air last night, there was some big breaking contract news from AEW, and that contract news there was quite a lot of them in the end come out and said it, but the four main ones that have re-signed with AEW is basically the Elite. They're there, Dave. They're going nowhere.
There won't be a WrestleMania next year, Andy. Sorry, but man, I'm so pleased that's done and dusted now, because it was a bit of a cloud hanging over AEW. You know, Cody left, which hurt the company. Absolutely, no matter what anybody says, it was devastating, really. Yeah. But to lose Kenny in the Bucks would have been, incomprehensible, really. So the fact that they've kind of settled up on a deal and they're going to be there long term is just great for AEW fans. I've been concerned, and people have said it. Conan said it on his podcast, on the Keep It 100 podcast, that they seem disinterested. And there was times that I could feel that they perhaps they didn't look happy, or as happy as they used to be. But the fact that they've put pen to paper and they've committed the future to AEW, they obviously are. They wear a lot of hats in terms of some of the roles they've fulfilled backstage. Kenny Omega obviously heavily involved with the Fight Forever game. So it's not just the on-screen thing. So perhaps if they look a bit tired at times, we'll have to just give them the benefit of the doubt from now on, because why else would they have committed their future? So Kenny even mentioned the possibility of collision as well, which we'll get to. But we will. Tantalizing stuff.
We'll touch upon that. Also included in the renewals, Dark Order and Kip Sabian, I believe.
Great. I mean, Kip, I've been a little bit underwhelmed by how he's been booked since he's come back. How he's performed has been phenomenal. He's a great wrestler, and somebody that I thought when he came back would be elevated perhaps towards TNT title or maybe even a little bit more with Orange. I know he did have the one match with Orange, but it wasn't a feud as such, really. It was pretty much done and dusted within a couple of weeks. So Kip's a good pickup. I really like Dark Order, and they seem to have been redirecting the Dark Order as well in terms of their presentation. And it's just the three guys now, really. So they're more of a trio. So again, great news for AEW fans. And it takes that doubt out of the way, and we can forget about it and we can move on to more exciting things like All In and All Out.
Yep, not forgetting Hooked on Wrestling, Shake It All About.
Oh, yeah. Are you going to that?
No.
No, I don't. We're in London Friday to Monday for obviously all the festivities. We might be going to Rev Pro on the Saturday night. But to stay over for a Monday show as well, it's just a bit much for us. But there's enough wrestling that weekend, and then obviously within a couple of days, another Dynamite, and then back around to Rampage, Collision, and all out. So they got the work cut out for them, but we've got a match to talk about, which was what we hoped for last week. What we'd be saying this week, that there'd be a match set, and what a match it is. So things are really looking up again for AEW. I couldn't be more positive today, mate.
Yeah, it's good. It's all good news. Coincidentally, I'm going Rev Pro on Sunday, so I'm looking forward. They've just announced their big 8-man main event, and it's really good. But I'll send. I think I may have sent it to the group earlier, but
Well, man, Michael Oku, he's in that, isn't he? And
he is. Yes. He is.
what we've got, I've just got to mention this. What an interview we did with him the other day. I mean, we've had the privilege of meeting a lot of wrestlers now and having some great interviews. Really kind of, informative. They kind of peel the curtain back a little bit and allow us into their world. Michael Oku's such a great guy, and I'm convinced he's destined for greatness. He's already a top name in UK, obviously, and he's making waves in America. I see him in one of the big companies before long. Absolutely, somebody that, I think we'll look back and be say that remember that time when we interviewed Michael Oku. So
yeah, we won. Yeah.
So my point was, anybody watching this review show, I really, recommend that you check out our videos on YouTube and just listen to or watch the Michael Oku interview, because really, really great podcast.
Yeah,
in my humble opinion.
It was a really good one, and put it this way, Chris Jericho's got his number, so it's obviously he's destined for big things.
He's on the Jericho cruise. He's faced him at MLW, hasn't he? So he's in that circle now. No pun intended. Not the inner circle of Jericho, but it would not surprise me at all if Michael Oku turns up in either NXT or whether he's in AEW. Me as a big AEW guy, I'd love that Jericho connection to lead to Tony Khan signing him up.
Well, who knows? Speaking of Chris Jericho, we roll into Dynamite. It's the old setting, the old school setup. And we start with Chris Jericho and Takeshita versus Guevara.
Nice. The quicker you say it, the better it sounds.
I'm just going to start doing it really quick going forward. And Garcia. This was the match that was made last week when we was all sort of wondering about, because I made the point that other people might turn on Jericho. They all might turn on Jericho. It didn't happen.
No.
We saw the walls of Takeshita. That was worse. That was bad. Now you set me up the first time. I just said the really bad.
Yeah, you got cocky.
Oh, cocky, didn't I? Anyway, it was a really good opening. Actually, it was quite obviously the high flying you'd expect from Sammy, the good ground and pound stuff you get from Garcia. Same with Takeshita and Chris Jericho. It's just Jericho.
I love the Garcia bit with the dancing. I just think I just laugh every time. It hasn't got old for me. I know it's really silly, but it always gets a pop out the crowd as well.
Yeah, it does. It does. And the end of the match actually was quite controversial. Garcia locked in the Dragon Tamer. Gallus cracked him in the head with Floyd right behind the back. Jericho sees it happen. Looks conflicted about it.
Yeah.
But then pins Garcia and gets the win. What did you make of this, Dave?
I thought it was great because you had that moment, that intrigue of which way is he going to go here? Is he going to... And he still hasn't kind of come out and said, this is my decision. But obviously his actions here suggest that his future, he's alongside Don Callis and Takeshita. I would have preferred the two young guys to turn on Jericho. I think I would have rather than that, which kind of forced Jericho's decision to say, right, this is my kind of new backup, if you like.
Yeah.
But maybe we get to something like that in terms of, I don't think it's finished between Jericho, Sammy, and Garcia. I think we'll see more in the coming weeks. I thought this was great. Glad that Don Callis is going to be utilised more because I think he's a great manager. I nearly swore then, but the chicken S word.
Yes,
typical cowardly manager, striking and running, and I thought this was good. I like the direction they're moving in. I'm glad we're getting away from the JAS now. I think that's pretty much going to be, stop being mentioned and the graphics taken off the Titantrons and stuff. So, I want to see more. Basically, I want to see more what happens with his story with Jericho and Takeshita and the young lads.
Yeah, I think next week they've got the JAS have got a summit.
Yeah,
I think that was announced later on in the show.
So that might be that
might be something.
Yeah.
We're going to see. Tony Khan put overall in. There's a nice video package showing the history of Dynamite, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, I think the video packages, we've touched on it in recent weeks. Well, I think the video packages and the overall production has really stepped up in the last few months. I know they picked up a guy from the WWE that did a similar job over there.
Yes.
So you can really see that those changes being implemented now and the improvements coming. I mean, we forget sometimes that it's a 4-year-old company, and it always looked really professional and like felt big time. But there's obviously so much that catching up they had to do for the WWE standards, which blow anybody away. Not just in wrestling, I think in sport, in entertainment, the WWE's like just streets ahead of loads of different things. But it's good to see AEW are making like real progress in those areas as well. It's not just the in-ring stuff; it's the overall show that's really kind of improving.
Yeah, no, definitely. It looked really good from the video package they put out was great with the history.
Yeah,
I loved it.
yeah.
Back from the break, and here comes Mozart. Jungle Boy, Jack Perry. Get it right. Getting ready for his face-off with Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn comes out and says, I would love to go in and beat you up, but it would be child abuse. And to be quite honest with you, I've got so many screws in my neck. No doctor in the world would clear me to compete. But it doesn't matter because I've just called one of my old friends. And one of my old friends just so happens to still wrestle, just so happens to be an ex-ECW guy. And out comes Van Dam to make his AEW debut. The crowd go batshit crazy. I swore, sorry, apologies, but they did.
Swear jar.
Swear jar, plump, yep. I mean, he got into the ring, done his little spinny thing he does. Jack Perry goes out. They embrace Jerry Lynn and RVD embrace, and then Jack Perry comes back in with a chair. RVD ducks it and just misses a Van Daminator. And then Jungle Boy flies out. Jungle Boy flies out the ring and then uses a little kid as a shield in the crowd before leaving. But RVD in AEW, Dave.
I don't care what anybody says, this was exceptional. And I talk a lot about the younger talent and stuff, but I also say there is a place for the legends and this. So it's not like I want Jericho gone. It's just I've said in recent weeks I'd like to see the spotlight on the younger guys. But the spotlight is on the younger guy here. It's on Jack Perry. He's building his heel persona. And we've all discussed it, and he's got work to do on the mic, and he's finding his feet with it. But this was great. This was really, really good. Van Dam didn't look overly happy when he came out.
No.
Which I thought was a bit strange. But he did all his signature stuff. The Van Daminator attempts looked as good as ever. That didn't look like he couldn't do it properly anymore, or he obviously keeps himself in great shape and he still wrestles. So out of any ECW guy they could have brought in, this would be the guy. I didn't enjoy Sabu coming in a few months ago. I just thought it was a little bit out of nowhere and just caught everybody by surprise. And I could have done without that. But this and how they built it with Taz and then Jerry Lynn to ultimately lead to a match, Jungle Boy against RVD, on TV as well. So it's not as if that's gone into All In, which was what people were kind of saying it might. I don't think that would be right, because I think you've got to get as many of the AEW regulars on that show. I think they deserve it. You'll get a few guest appearances. We'll see some UK talent and stuff. But I think for that featured match, that should either be at All Out or on a Dynamite. So I think that's perfect, mate. I was really, really happy with that segment, and I thought it went down really well. What did you think?
Yeah, listen, RVD's always been one of my favourites. So the fact that when we had RVD, when I heard that potentially he was coming in, I was
Pantera really War Kit as well, so they've got that theme.
Yeah, so I was over the moon, shall I say, when I heard Van Dam's music. Listen, he can still go. He keeps himself in great shape. I've got no qualms about someone of Van Dam's age coming in to put, because he's going to put Jack Perry over.
Yes,
you would assume. And what better name to put on your resume? Perry to get win as RVD. Now that match is also, as you rightly point out, that's next week.
Yes,
does that lead in? Well, that matches. Are they going to have another one? Would they, say, for example, something could happen next week when it could move to, they could have another match. They could go on an all-in or an all-out card. Who knows? But I'm very happy with Van Dam. I like that. So I can't.
If it then leads to a multi-man, whether that's a tag, a trios, a 4-on-4, one of the pay-per-views, even if it's Christian. On the involve Christian, there's definitely things they could do with that, and I wouldn't mind it. Obviously, they're going to have some kind of pre-show. They're going to have probably 8 to 10 matches, I would have thought, at All In.
Yeah.
That seems to be the general amount that they go for. They've done more, but I think they kind of learnt the lesson from that and realised it was too much. But I think RVD coming in for this kind of role probably won't be long term. It's probably a short term deal. It's probably just to work this program, and he'll ride off back into the sunset. But I don't know. I mean, he's got a lot of people that he's worked with in the past. I remember the match that he had with Jeff Hardy at Invasion, going back, and I was a fan of him in ECW. I was a fan of him. He's running the WWE. I was a fan of him in TNA. So, I couldn't be more pleased to see him. And in this capacity as well, he's not like he's coming in and he's going for the world title.
No, exactly.
He's coming in and he's working with a younger talent with a story that has been thought through, makes total sense, and it leads to this match next week. So, I've got no criticism for this.
No, me either. Well, we move into the next match, and by God, crimes. A three-way anything goes match. Trent, Penta, and Moxley. I mean, Moxley didn't bleed, which was shocking.
Trent did a lot.
Trent, behind
the proverbial crimson mask.
Crimson. Oh, he was having a blood transfusion, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, they had barbed wire bats. They were doing suplexes through tables. They were doing pretty much everything, Gotch-style power drivers onto thumbtacks, and you name it, they just done it. It was crazy. And then the most impressive thing was that Trent actually picked up the win.
I love that, and I hoped that would happen, because at times in the past, the best friends, and they've been the guys that have had the shoulders pinned to the mat and staring up, looking at the lights, and that's happened more than I would like, because they're such a great team and they're AEW originals. They showed the parking lot match, didn't they? And then we'll get onto that in a minute. But that match against Santana and Ortiz was phenomenal. And there's been injuries and stuff, and Trent's been in and out, but they've been back for a while now. And I was really hoping that Trent would pick up the win. And I thought the way they did it was perfect. But the fact that the Lucha Brothers won the tag match last week suggested to me that Penta might have lost this week.
Yeah.
But I just think doing stuff like that, it keeps everybody strong. It's not 50-50 booking as you like, but it's not just the same guys being the guys that pick losing every week. If you feel that anybody could win in a triple threat, and you don't know which way it's going to go, that's exactly where you want to be. And I'm gonna go back and watch this match again, because I was watching it and so much stuff happened. I was trying to remember each spot to talk about tonight. But I really want to go back and like dissect it again, because it was great. I mean, could any wrestling fans? I mean, I know some people like the more family friendly stuff and they don't like the hardcore stuff, but like our kind of your 18 to 50 kind of demo. I mean, this is great. I mean, the whole show is, as we said in the past, a bit of a buffet of wrestling. There's a little bit of everything. You can, there's a women's match, there's a tag match, there's a trio match, there's a triple threat. Just great television, great wrestling, sports entertainment.
It was indeed, and it's carried on after the bell. Moxley just jumped straight on Trent. The rest of the BCC come through the crowd, but Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor were there to accept. Big brawl breaks out. Trent dives to the floor from the top, takes everybody out, and also Orange Cassidy does an orange punch to take out Moxley. And then, as you say, they got on the mic and they changed the BCC to a brawl on Rampage.
Yeah. I mean,
parking lot brawl, sorry, on Rampage.
Yeah, parking lot brawl. Yeah, I mean, that makes Rampage. I've got to watch it. It's must see for me now that match is on there. I was kind of surprised they put it on Rampage, but I would say out of the last 6 rampages, we've had 4 really good ones. You know, 2 probably that you would have missed a great deal in terms of storylines and stuff. But advertising that for Rampage, one, I thought, you know, Trent's got to go again pretty quickly. But yeah, that could be the perfect way to book Rampage. You know, continuations of stuff that happens on Dynamite. So again, if that would have been announced for All In, I'd have been absolutely fine with that.
Yeah,
I know in the arena we wouldn't have seen a great deal. We'd have been watching it on the screens.
Yeah.
But I think that is a pay-per-view caliber match that could have featured at All In or All Out. So the fact we're getting it for free on Rampage is just, you know, you could criticize them saying that they shouldn't be giving that match away for free. But at the same time, I can't wait to see Rampage now, which I don't feel that every week. I always look forward to Collision.
Yeah.
And Collision has probably been my favorite show on a whole. Yeah. I mean, I've enjoyed elements of WWE and stuff in recent times, but Collision for me is the show that if I could only watch one wrestling show, that would probably it. But this week, I'm looking forward to seeing Rampage as much as I am seeing Collision.
And I can't even tell you who wins that match because I have read Rampage, but it's being filmed tonight. So, in Bailey's place. So, I can't.
Gotcha. I was thinking whether they were recording it after, so that's what I feared for Trent, you know. But yeah, at least he's not doing double duty.
No, he's doing. I think they're filming it at Daly's place tonight. So,
gotcha.
The result of it you won't even know who wins. So you'd have to watch Rampage to find out.
Yeah. Again, that's great, isn't it? It'd be interesting to see the number that Rampage does this week and see if they get that little bump.
Yeah, Collision got a big bump from last week.
Yeah, particularly in the demo as well. So, you can probably tell I love Dynamite. I love the show, but I'm just so happy with the state of wrestling in 2023. I think as fans, we're so lucky at the minute to be getting all of this great action, and we deserve it to a degree because over the past 20-25 years, there has been periods where it's been pretty tough to be a wrestling fan at times. You know, we've had to sit through some dross. But just lately, well, for a long time, to be honest, but particularly this summer has just felt so good for the world of wrestling, whether that's the independent scene, Japan, WWE, AEW, MLW, GCW, Impact. I'm probably missing some NWA. Just great time to be a wrestling fan. I hope it continues like this long term, forever. We just keep getting more great content.
Yes, I agree, especially because we have to watch it.
Yeah.
Sure. Next up was Mr. MJF, who now this is where we get the all-in stuff, so we can talk about this in a second.
Yeah.
MJF come out, he talked about his AAD, he's rejection sensitive disorder, went into a bit of detail about he was getting told to pick things up as a Jew boy and he was getting stabbed in the back. And he said, you know, I'm still a scumbag, but I'm your scumbag. Anyway,
you got a chant. He's a scumbag.
He did. And he welcomes out someone that helped him, which was Adam Cole. And then he said, basically, the kind words he was talking about, you know, what a man really was, you know, blah, blah. And then basically he said, MJF took the mic and said, I said I'd give you a title shot no matter what happens at the end of this match, the tag match, basically.
Yeah.
And he said, come to the conclusion that you don't deserve the match. You don't deserve any match. You deserve the match. The main event at Wembley are All In. Gives Cole a contract. Cole says he loves him. Now, did you spot the Easter egg when they hugged? You did. You did. So, for those of you that don't know, Adam Cole has done this a couple of times in the past where he's hugged someone and has basically stuck the knife in the back as part of the hug. And he done that when they hugged with MJF. So, again...
What a little detail that is. So good.
So, eagle-eyed people can watch it, you know, but again... but anyway, Dave, so we have our main event for the pay-per-view in a couple of weeks' time, and we still have that little bit of who's turning who.
Yeah.
But we've got our main event.
Yeah, and what a main event it is. You know, one-on-one, Adam Cole, MJF. We saw the match, the preview, if you like, for this, a great match they've already had that went to time limit draw essentially. But the dynamic is very different then. So it's almost like that match doesn't really matter to a degree because what's happened since in terms of them becoming best friends. And you'd think the match will play out pretty like a straight up one-on-one wrestling match without too much MJF hijinks until perhaps the end. Or is it Adam Cole that puts the knife in his back? Or do they just have a straight up match? MJF retains or Adam Cole wins and they remain as they are now, and that continues into the future. We don't know. We all thought the turn would have happened by now. I think we all thought the turn was going to happen last week. And even when Max said tonight that I've come to the conclusion you don't deserve the match, I think a few of us, I mean, he got me again, to be honest. I thought, okay.
Even got Adam Cole because he was like, what?
Yeah, exactly. I thought this was so good. MJF, I've been critical of him in the past because of the lack of, we wanted to see more of him, to be honest. We wanted to see more of him. We wanted to see him wrestling more. But he has wrestled more of late, and I think he absolutely deserves to be in the main event spot at All In. I couldn't be happier for him, for Adam Cole, for the company to be going ahead with that match. I think it's great. Really interesting dynamic. Really interested to see how it will play out. Roll on All In.
Roll on All In, indeed. We were treated to the Elite next against Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and JEFF, JARRETT, Jeff Jarrett. Quite a fun match, this. A bit nice bits of comedy in between as well. Good to see the Elite back on TV. The Hardys come out to remove Sonjay Dutt at one point. Hangman does a great buckshot.
Oh, man. I'm glad you said that. It was awesome, wasn't it? Absolutely awesome. The timing, though, was perfect as well in terms of where he turned around.
Yeah.
You could say it was overbooked. There was a lot happening in this. It was a bit of a TNA-esque match. There was just a lot of stuff going down, but I loved it. I've got to be honest. I absolutely loved it. And then obviously Kenny gets on the microphone to make his announcement.
Yes, we're going to say just a bit before that. So he hit the buckshot. Lethal did grab the guitar, but Omega drilled him with a V trigger, then played the guitar on his back before finishing with the one-winged angel. And then gets on the mic. And as you say, basically says he's got the announcement that Elite have re-signed for quite a long time. And he then takes my said, wherever it is, Dynamite, Rampage, Ring of Honor, heck, even Collision, which got a massive pop from the crowd. You'll be seeing a lot more of all of these guys. Now, with him saying that, now, are we reading too much into this? And are we once again tantalizing our fantasy booking brains? Or does this, because he even said that, is it now indicating that perhaps things are either going to be smoothed over, or at least they're in a point where they're considering talking to try and smooth it over?
I think in the next couple of weeks on Collision, if we get a 6-man tag involving FTR and CM Punk, then we can be expecting an appearance from the Elite, which will hopefully, and it is us fantasy booking, that trios match, CM Punk and FTR versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. That match, that will sell any remaining tickets that haven't already gone. I think as a minimum, what we can expect is FTR against the Young Bucks at All In. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. It's just the Punk and Kenny factor. I mean, Kenny and Punk one-on-one for the Punk's title would be another huge main event. But then we've got Will Ospreay to consider as well. And are they going to be having Ospreay Omega 3, which is what the rumor's been for a long time. So again, I know we haven't got a clear picture, but we are a few weeks out and the wheels are in motion now. So they're obviously going in the direction of setting up these huge matches for not only All In, but for the following week at All Out. So I can't wait to see Rampage and Collision. And like we said the other day, we talked about Collision. If this was pre-recorded, I was watching it as a series, I'd be getting on to the next episode straight away. Yeah,
me too. Just this when he said that, it got me thinking. I mean, and he hasn't really got an issue with Punk. There's not a lot of beef between Kenny and Punk.
No.
from that stemmed out of all of that stuff. It's more the others. So
Yeah.
that anyway, who knows? Now,
well, it certainly seems like it is at least a possibility, which
yes,
is exciting enough.
yeah, indeed. And as I say, because the whole point of them create, the clean thing was that they were never going to be a part of it. So if they're now saying, "Hey, we're going to be upon it," but that's also big. That's also big for AEW, though. Because that's not just big for us fans that may get this match that we want to see. That's huge for the locker rooms.
Exactly. It's great for the company, for morale. Everything that happens can be truly put behind it. And you know what? There's always going to be things happening in wrestling companies. There's always going to be backstage stuff. There's always going to be disagreements falling out for it. There's always going to be people that don't like their booking or the fact that they're losing. Nobody likes losing. But I think prior to All Out or Brawl Out, it did seem like AEW was quite a harmonious place. And since that, it's the more and more stories have come out of the discontent and that. So if the Elite and FTR, and more Punk, can put it all behind them and do business, essentially, then as you say, mate, that is huge for the company moving forward. And that just unlocks so many matches, storylines, the potential. It could be, they could even start it off around now and not even pay it off at All In and do other stuff and do like Kenny Ospreay. I'm pretty sure they could do Bucks FTR anyway. And then the 6-man, they could work towards that down the line and tell a longer story with it. When there's a good story going on, we as fans, we are patient, because we like to see these stories develop. We want to see more, but we don't necessarily need the match instantly. We would rather be taken on a bit of a journey and a great captivating story. So the potential's there for all of that, whichever way they go. So yeah, huge positive announcement.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Now we go on off of this to one of the most graphic skits or vignettes or whatever you want to call it that AEW I think have ever done.
I'll let you talk through what it was, but honestly, at the end of this, mate, my jaw dropped and I was just staring at my screen with my mouth open and wow.
Yeah. So the Mogul Embassy was there and AR Fox said he wants to know why Darby couldn't have called Fox in the last 5 years since he was his hero. Swerve said he casted AR Fox in his latest movie. A video was shown at this point of the Buddy Wayne Academy where Nick Wayne trains, basically.
Yeah.
And Fox and Wayne, they come in. There was other guys there. Swerve, Nana, and Fox disposed of the other guys, and then they got a picture of Nick's father. Oh, sorry, they absolutely battered Nick Wayne. Sorry. The Mogul Embassy just basically kicked the living crap out of everyone that was there.
All the trainees, wasn't it? Everyone that Nick was working with.
Yeah. And they broke a picture of Nick's and his deceased father over his head. And Swerve was saying he was going to leave the photo right where he found out his dad died, which was Jesus. Then AR Fox had a piece of glass to Nick Wayne's throat, forcing him to unlock his phone so he can call Darby Allin. Swerve does answer. Darby does answer. Swerve does. Darby to shut up and listen. Berates him for leaving his mentor AR Fox in the dust. And basically it ends with Nick Wayne lying in a pool of his own blood. Dave, what in the blue hell was that? It was unbelievable. And it was so graphic that, we talk about things in the WWE in the Attitude Era where there was graphic stuff. I mean, there wasn't that sort of graphic stuff, but this was envelope pushing stuff here.
This was like horror movie or action movie villain type stuff. It was like watching a scene in a film.
Yeah.
It was very gritty as well. The way they filmed it. Obviously, they were at not a backyard setup as such, but a home wrestling school. And I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was brilliant. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and I did obviously think they're going too far here. But at the same time, you've got to keep in mind that this wouldn't have happened without Nick Wayne's
Yeah.
full blessing and
Oh yeah,
involvement.
definitely.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not, they haven't done anything inappropriate in terms
No.
of, against anyone's wishes.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, I don't know if I could do that with my dad. I don't know, but obviously it's a storyline, and you have to separate yourself from
Yeah.
reality sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's a wrestling storyline, and it's somewhat akin to what you'd see in a film or a TV show. I just thought it was brilliant. I just thought AR Fox looked great. I thought Swerve now just looks like $1 million. I've always been a Swerve fan,
Yeah.
but he's bulked up as well. He just, oh man, I can't say enough about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it though, mate, because as I say, I left that and my jaw had dropped.
It literally wasn't as far behind what you've just been saying. I was like, I've never, I mean, listen, AEW have done some, there's been some bits and pieces. We had Moxley when he done the finisher on Kenny through the glass table. I think it was one of the first Dynamite episodes that they had. There was things like that, but this took what I always like about storylines is where there is the hint of realism in it. And this is why I always say that the Omega and Bucks and the Punk thing would work, because there is that element of friction between the two things. They have taken a real life event, Nick Wayne's dad dying, and they've used a portion of that in their storyline. So for now, they are monster heels. Now, that they're going to be booed out of the building.
Hated. Yeah.
They're going to be hated. I absolutely thought this was AEW's best work that they've done.
Yeah,
because it may not be to everybody's taste. Let's be honest. I mean,
you could definitely say that distasteful. It was, but it was obviously done with all the consent of the people that matter.
Absolutely, and for me, as long as that everyone consented to it, I haven't got a problem. But I thought that was the best, I would say, skit or whatever you want to call it, that AEW have done in ever. I don't think there's been anything better than that.
We've been talking in recent weeks, again, I've mentioned it earlier, but about the backstage stuff and the video packages and Darby Allin's involvement.
Yeah.
Obviously, Darby Allin, Swerve, Nick Wayne, AR Fox, they're all great mates and they've come up together and trained together. So they have obviously formulated this with Tony Khan and whoever's kind of involved creative-wise. And it seems we're going to get Darby and Nick Wayne against AR Fox and Swerve, I'm assuming. And with what happened as well in this match, that's just built that match to I want to see now.
Yeah.
But we won't get it now, as I was saying, just about, watching this story play out. Can't wait to see what comes next. I can't wait to see what Darby Allin does in retaliation. Whether Sting's factored into it as well.
Darby Allin will be spoiling for another fight on Kalian this week.
Yeah. Well, I certainly think we'll probably see something of him, maybe. But if not, next week on Dynamite, we'll get some kind of rebuttal.
He'll be going crazy.
Oh, yeah. I wish they could have done a video call with Darby.
I thought that's
showed him.
Yeah.
Because it was a voice call, but it still worked because he'd go. Swerve told Darby to shut up, didn't he, and listen, and perhaps.
Well, they might have done, and I don't know. Maybe next week they'll show you when Darby arrives at the training facility. Maybe they leave a camera somewhere. I don't know. But
it wouldn't surprise me at all if they carry on the show. You'd have thought, they'd have got the money's worth in terms of while they're there, and they've got the wrestlers all on site. I don't know where it is, where Nick Wayne lives, but you'd imagine they've done a few bits and pieces that'll be aired in coming weeks. But just captivating wrestling television,
amazing. That was, as I said, that's the best promo skit. I don't know what you want to call it, vignette, whatever. That was the best thing they've ever done. The best one they've ever done for me. Top marks.
And
then we go from that to the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. Aussie Open against Vikingo and Komander. This was exactly what you would expect it to be. Lots of high flying stuff, lucha libre, style tag match. Aussie Open are absolutely. Yeah, they blew my mind.
Absolutely fantastic.
They were absolutely, yeah, and they were they are unreal. And I think when you partner them with people that like the lucha libres and that do that kind of wrestling,
Yeah.
it makes it even more better because they're just the way that they all work together. It was fantastic though, this match.
Well, you look at those four. I mean, I don't think Vikingo's under an AEW contract. Komander is, and obviously Aussie Open signed recently. And those are guys really that have come to the fore in recent times. I know we've seen Aussie Open in the past a couple of times, but it's really been the last few months, particularly with Komander and Vikingo, that we've seen more of them on AEW. And this was just sensational. I mean, the Lucha Libre isn't for everyone, and you know, a lot of the flips and stuff like that. But I quite like that a lot of the times that they do the flips, but they'll do one flip too many, and it leads to the downfall. But the couple of moves they did, the one when they both walked on the rope at the same time and did a moonsault, where they both did a 450 off the same turnbuckle onto Davies, I think it was. Man, this was just phenomenal. This was phenomenal and very different to the other stuff on the show. Very different to obviously the triple threat and the opening tag match, and it was its own little niche. But I was thoroughly entertained. They're just incredible. I always liked the cruiserweights in WCW. But as you say, to pair them with the likes of Aussie Open, and it's not just for cruiserweights, if you like, for luchas, and you've got the clash of styles, and you can do different things. And I mean, the double team moves that Aussie Open have got, you know, some of the stuff they do, I've never seen. Man, I thought they'd retain. Obviously, they've only just won the titles. They won them at the last pay-per-view, didn't they? But again, this was like an absolute showcase. It's almost like, in a way, AEW thought, this is our 200th episode. Maybe we'll get some new fans checking it out. Maybe seeing the advertising more in the States that it's 200. And this is what we are capable of. This is what we've got. This is the talent we've got. And we can do this week in, week out. And I really hope now that, you know, Collision is on such a good track. And as we've spoke about endless times, the additional 2 hours of television a week, everything just seems to be settling into such a fantastic rhythm. And long may it continue, man.
Yeah, definitely. That match was amazing. Main event time. And the women get the main event this week. It was Toni Storm against Hikaru Shida. Now, are we after all the stuff that was saying last week and this week, the women main event, the show, make that what you will, but it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, but mate, we've been part of that, conversation. We spoke at length with Steph Delanda the other night about it. So maybe if the negativity from last week hadn't have happened, then maybe this match wouldn't have been in the main event. And it's the world title. You know, if it was the men's world title match, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be in the main event. Occasionally, they open the show with something like that, but usually it's the main event, and that's exactly where the women's match deserved to be. And yes, we've had a lot happen. It seemed a little bit disjointed because we have had a lot happen with Shida and the Outcasts.
Yeah.
But then there was a bit of a gap in the middle, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But it's back on track. So it is a story that deserved to be highlighted and shown in the main event. And as I say, world titles on the line. So I was really pleased that it was the main event this week.
Yeah, me too. And it got some good time, which was another thing. There was a storyline behind it. It was amazing, all these things that we say, Dave, if you give a match a meaning and a storyline, and
make us care. Make us care.
And you got 2 good competitors like they did with Shida and Toni Storm, that it actually works. And funnily,
great match.
What a main event. And not only what a main event, we now have a new women's champion.
I couldn't believe it. And then obviously it's Dynamite 200, so you think they might pull out all the stops and there might be a title change. But I really thought Toni Storm would win one way or another. And then the way they did it at the end, there was a slight hesitation for the referee who could have perhaps grabbed the kendo stick. So that's minor criticism.
Yeah.
But the fact that she took out the Outcast with a kendo stick and then managed to get a roll-up victory on Toni Storm.
When Storm hit the green spray.
Yeah, I thought that was it.
And then hit Storm Zero. I thought, that's it, done.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe we were going to get some come out at the end and set up something.
Yeah.
Out of it.
when she kicked out as well, and the crowd went ballistic for that kick out. There was one before that that she kicked out of. But yeah, that second one after the spray paint and the Storm Zero, just awesome. And then they did the roll up and Shida got her. And then you had the celebration afterwards. And Shida was really emotional. You could see how much it meant to her. She had that run during the pandemic era, which they discussed at length. And she didn't really have the opportunity to kind of hold the belt up in front of the fans. You know, the first time she had perhaps the chance to do that, she lost. That was to Britt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that now, so she's the women's world champion again. It just seems right. It just seemed the right decision. As shocked as I was for the title change, once I'd kind of digested it, I thought, yeah, absolutely, that is absolute perfect booking. And I'm intrigued to know now what happens with the women's world title picture going into the 2 pay-per-views. You know, are we going to have Outcast? Are we going to have Britt Baker? Who are we going to have? Who's going to get involved? And who's Shida going to be defending against? 9 out of 10 show for me this week. It wouldn't be far off a 10 for me, but there were some minor bits and pieces. The commentary audio at times seems a little bit quiet.
A bit weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's mine. That's being really petty. I'm giving it a strong 9 out of 10 this week, mate. Don't know.
I'm with you. 9 out of 10 for me this week. Listen, they're gonna have to do some big stuff. I mean, to be honest, I'll be quite honest and open. We are not reviewing Raw this week, and I'll be open with you guys now. It was terrible. The go home Raw before a big pay-per-view isn't worth reviewing because nothing happened of any note that denotes anything that's going to happen on Saturday. So
it could have been a house show, couldn't it?
Yeah. So we're not. So Raw got about a 3. This gets a 9. So the rest of the week, I mean, Impact's got their duty tonight. SmackDown's tomorrow. Collision Saturday. They're gonna have to go some on Collision, Dave, to beat this.
Yeah, but I think they'll be up for that challenge as well.
Oh yeah,
I think
Punk will be salivating at it.
Punk, FTR, you got Andrade, Miro, House of Black, you know, all those guys, Julia Hart, because the women as well, you know, the women, Chris Statlander, she didn't feature, Taya Valkyrie, you know, everyone that's going to be part of Collision this week are going to be wanting to go out there and really compete with this Dynamite because it blew me away. And we've had some bad Dynamites in recent times, and Andy's been really upset. We were quite happy with last week's, but we could understand elements of the show that weren't as good. And then we did definitely have one week when all 4 of us reviewed it, and even Parker was very kind of concerned about the direction. But now I'd love to speak to him about what he thought about this week because they didn't really put a foot wrong. And as I say, I only really score it 9 out of 10. I live in hope that they can beat it, and I could give a 10. They're gonna find it hard though. They're not going to be easy to reach these heights week in, week out.
No, you expect the odd bad one. Yeah, it does happen. You're doing so many hours of wrestling television. You're booking,
and the crowd's playing to it sometimes, and the audiences. And they had some. Yeah, they were fantastic. They were great in the MJF section segment as well. But throughout the night, they were awesome. We had some kind of lower capacity crowds when they were doing the Canada tour, and I think that did affect the overall show, to be honest. But they seem to be back now, firing on all cylinders. And I'm really, I know I've said it earlier, I'll say it again. I am really looking forward to watching both Rampage and Collision this week. Rampage for the first time feels must see because of that parking lot brawl.
Yeah, I might even have to watch it myself, which is very rare for me. Rampage, but for that I certainly will. But you're saying about people putting foot wrongs, Dave. Is that time of the show where we
got it this week?
Start saying our goodbyes, and as it's AEW, I leave it to you guys.
Yeah, it's time, fortunately, to bid you adieu. Goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bang.
Stay safe.